From youth age, it's my passion of the game, and I want to play in that time when I was a kid, and I grew up. I do love to coach, and I think I like to promote the sport, and I always have a good vision to see how can we grow better players, how can we have top level players.
Unleash your serve's power. Join our academy and dominate the court. Spots filling up fast. Enroll now.
Welcome to the Silicon Valley Tennis Show. I will be right back. I am happy to introduce Reynaldo Soriano. Reynaldo is a certified peak performance coach, strength conditioning, fitness training. He is great in Jiu-jitsu, black belt, Taekwondo, black belt, and the piece of today, it will be masterpiece, mentally strength, commitment, concentration, and planning for victory on the tennis courts. Hey, Reynaldo,
Hello, Coach. How are you?
how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Great, great. Thank you for being here today. An amazing day. We know each other. I have seen you work with the players. I have seen you. How do you develop many young players? I remember you sent a player to play college level with your mindset. And that's what I'm trying to do for our wonderful audience, tennis players, in that case, maybe Taekwondo players, Jiu-Jitsu, and it will help us a lot. Many people will ask me, why a Jiu-Jitsu and a Taekwondo coach related to tennis? What do you think? I think it's very related to everything, the sport. Give me your opinion. Tell me what you think.
Absolutely, Coach. I believe that there's three aspects of conditioning if you want to be in a peak performance state. The first one is what we call mental conditioning, which, in my opinion, drives around 90% of everything. And then you have your physical conditioning, where you do your physical fitness, strength and conditioning, speed, nutrition, and then last was a technical conditioning where you're practicing with your coach in terms of the technique, in this particular case, forehand, backhand. And what happens is that without a good mindset, the body won't be able to follow. For example, if you say to yourself, oh, I'm tired, I can't do this, automatically the body will follow, because if you're saying that you can't do it because you're tired, there's no way that you will be able to run, you won't be able to hit. If you're already afraid as well and you have self-doubt, the body will follow, and next thing you know, you're doubting yourself and you won't be able to execute when the opportunity basically arises. That's why, in my opinion, to have a mental toughness or a really good mindset in sports, in any other sports, not just in sports, but also in, say, school and also in career, you need that mindset. You need to have that winning mentality or that winner's mindset. So the question is, how bad do you really want it in terms of depending on what your goals are? So if, say, for example, you want to be a number one player in your club, then you have to work for it. That when it's time to train, it's time to train. That you're not going to make any form of excuses. Make it that way. I hope that that answers that, Coach.
Okay, let me mention that you say you want to be number one in your club. How can we build young players into that mentality set? Young players today, they talking like, oh, I have so much homework. I cannot commit that much. How can we help them to be committed and train from the age of 7, 8, 9, 10, well, in 11? What do you think we should try to do to help these young athletes?
Yes, I believe in organizational skills to have that discipline. And also, I believe parents should also be able to support and help their kids if they could. So, for example, I'll just take on training, basically, I'll take my son, for example. He loves to play volleyball. And after school, what he'll do is he'll do his homework. And then once his homework is finished, and then he'll ask me, he said, "Hey, Dad, can we go train?" And then we'll train for 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour, depending on what we're gonna plan. And then basically from there is simply, I believe in balance, to have the ability to have the balance. But in the end, it is important for young kids to really have that passion. I don't know about you, Coach, but when I also about 8 or 9, I already knew exactly what type of sport I want. My kids are also the same. They already know what type of sports that they do want. And then if you really want it, you're gonna be out there and just practice. So it is also important to have a goal. Say, for example, one goal a day. Today I want to work on flexibility, or today I want to work with Coach Francisco, or today I want to work with something. But to have that set goal and to have an organization, you need to be organized with your time, and then making sure that you've done your homework first, because of course school is also important. And then when you're done with everything, then this is where you can go back to training, or you can go train. I hope that makes sense there, Coach.
It does. It makes sense. Planning the training of the younger players. For example, in your profession, balance. You mentioned the first word, balance homework. How can we use the balance of Taekwondo, jumping, create the stamina, create the kicking, and Jiu-jitsu, they make the rotation? All these two go similar into the newest sport of the game.
Yes.
You have done a couple things of boxing, and I know you're very good in this. In a young age, 8 to 11, how much time can you kick? How much time can you jump? Well, what would be a great idea for these young players and the parents? Because the parents, they are the people that have to understand what a tennis player, what a Taekwondo. Can you help me more in that?
Yes. So from my experience training younger athletes to the age of around 7, 8, or 9, even 10, is not having much of a core element. The speed, because without speed, you need core. They go hand in hand. Also with their glute area, it's a little bit more weaker. And so what I need to do when I'm training them is I need to develop the foundation of everything. So the foundation of the core, the foundation of the legs. So with tennis, when I'm with your athletes, Coach, what I tend to do is basically I test them first. I will assess them in terms of their balance as well. I will assess in terms of their hip movement, the way how they run. I test their speed, their flexibility. And one thing also I find is that, yes, at the age around 8, 9, 10, they get really flexible, but by the time they get around 11 or 12, their flexibility will deplete a little bit. And they tend not to stretch anymore. Because with running, you need a lot of flexibility with your hips, and then your knees, and then your ankles, to avoid as well that type of sense of injury. So by having a sense of strength within the glute area, the hamstring, and then with tennis, there's a lot of like low base, and then you need to almost like doing half squat, almost for squat wide stance, and then a lot of reaction time. So it's also important to practice reaction. That's what I do. Sometimes we'll do really, like for example with Taekwondo, there's a lot of reaction time. So that's why with kicking, pointing the pedals, back forth, And so what I will tend to do with them is like also with footwork, forward, back, side to side. And with tennis, you need a lot of footwork. You need to have that reaction to react and to be explosive. And you need to be, in my opinion, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, coach, but you have to be, before the ball arrives, you need to be there. So in other words, you need to also be explosive, to be quick. So if you're not fast enough, then you'll either miss the ball, but if you hit the ball, it's either the ball will go a different way, but you don't have the proper technique anymore if you're not going to be there prior to the ball basically arrives. Is that right, coach?
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
For example, and this is a different question to you, which I think it will help a lot for the people that listen to us. So many times we get very good athletes. Very good athletes. They have everything. But I see them, they're missing their reaction piece to explode. You know, like when you have these kids that kick very heavy without even trying, but they're driving the leg so good. In tennis, we get these kind of kids. And I always ask my question, you are so talented. How can we help you? And not only in Taekwondo, Jiu-jitsu, tennis, we're talking in soccer, in swimming. In swimming, you are so talented, but sometimes they're missing the extra string to create that, what you say, discipline, commitment. What else we can tell the people? What do you think?
My opinion, you need resilience to be persistent, to really want something. To really, when I say to really want it, if you know that you are, say, losing, and the only way for you is to have the extra energy, the extra drive, then you need to have the extra persistence and the confidence and the courage to just go for it. But in order to do so, it has to come from your heart, though. Do you have the drive to win? Because if you don't have the drive to win, you're not going to go for the ball. You already quit even before the game actually finishes. So to be in a competition, you need to be in what we call a peak performance state. But how do you be in a peak performance state before the competition? Well, number one, it is important to what we call affirmations. Say, I am confident. I'm confident. I'm a winner. I am a winner. I'm great. I'm the best. I'm number one. So by having that mental positive emotion, or you're saying to yourself that you're already the best, then you would be able to keep going. And you, by saying that to yourself over and over again, it becomes number one basically in nature. I see that quite a lot with athletes where their physiology already drops this way, even before they get into the court. It's almost like they wake up and they didn't feel like playing. But no, you got to be ready. When you're there, you're there. So we have a saying that train the way you fight and fight the way you train. So in other words, when you're practicing like the way how you're playing already on the court, because the competition doesn't start at the day of the competition. Competition starts when you're training at the court with your coaches. And if you can create that, create a good habit with discipline, it becomes second in nature.
So you are from Philippines, but you grew up in Australia, and you compete.
Yes.
And you know, people don't know you are very lean, skinny guy. If I see you, I say, "Oh my God, how this guy could fight so heavy?" And then you still competing in this age. You going to Texas. You still have the mindset of competition, which I love it.
Yeah.
So you are from Philippines, you moved to Australia, correct?
Yes, coach.
When did you get involved into the Taekwondo and Jiu-jitsu? And
Fantastic.
how did you became to be so tough? I do want to know this.
So when I was 8, I saw this poster. and this guy basically says that he's a 3-time world champion. And as a young kid, I always liked watching kung fu films and being a ninja, and I would want to do backflips and things like that. And then so one day I went home and I went to my parents and said, "Hey, mom, dad, I want to do that." And I said, "What's that?" I said, "I think it's called Taekwondo." So, but my parents, because I'm being the only boy, this was before we migrated to Australia, and then my parents actually didn't let me, not until, I don't know, it took about 2 years. And every day I would keep on telling them, "Can we go? Can we go?" One day my mom said, "Okay, fine, let's go." And we went, and it was the best thing ever. And I believe that's where I'm saying, like, you really have to want it. So I couldn't wait to go to training. Every day I'll go to training, and I really enjoyed it. And then at one point in time, I competed, and I beat actually a black belt. I was only like, I think a red belt during that time. It was like, but they put me into a black belt level, and I beat the kids. So, and I knew that I was good at something. And then next thing you know, we're packing our bags, and I said to my parents, "So where we're going?" And they said, "Oh, we're moving to Australia." I said, "I have to find the map where Australia was." And so next day, we were in Australia. I was like, I don't know, 12 during that time. And then from there, I pursued, keep going with Taekwondo, and then eventually I got my black belt. And then one day, I lost. It was the qualifications for the World Championships, and I lost. I was crying. And then my coach basically said, and I will never forget it, because he said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Well, I really wanted to be the national team, want to go to the World Championships." And then he asked me and said, "Okay, how many times a day or how many times a week do you train?" I said, 3 times a week. And then he only said one question. He said, "Is that good enough, do you think, to be a champion?" And I said, "No." I stopped crying by that Monday, because I never wanted to have that feeling again. So that Monday, I started training. So me and my friends, basically my friends who went to the World Championships, they invited me and they said, "Hey, you should just come train with us." So they train at 5 in the morning, so I have to get up at 4:30. And mind you, I didn't have a car during that time, so they will pick me up and we will train. We will go to what in Australia we call commission flats. They're just flats where it's pretty much like on the ghetto, but there's no ghetto basically in Australia. But it's just like a low income housing project basically. So we were there. We would just train from 5:30 to 6:30, and then I'll come home, and then I'll take a public transport. If my parents could basically drop me off, I'll go home, get changed, and I'll go to school. And then at lunchtime, I will do my own training once again, and I'll go for a run, do sprints. Talking about tennis, you want to be fast, you got to go do sprints, and you want to be a little bit more in terms of your cardio. If your cardio is weak, go for a run. At least take like 2 miles every day. And it's the consistency. So by being consistent is very important, and to have the discipline to do so. And then by me doing that, next thing you know, within that year, because I made a goal that next year I will never lose again. So that following year, basically me and my friends, we all won. So I became a national champion. And then from there, I represented Australia to go to Southeast Asian Championships, basically in Vietnam. And then that is where my progression of being an athlete. And then not only that, we were in Spain through the Spanish Open. So my first international competition prior to the Southeast Asia, and then to compete against other athletes at a world-class level is a different ballgame once again. That is the first time I actually experienced fear, because I fought against Jordan, and he was a national champion, and he kicked so hard and so fast, and he missed my head by about a millimeter. And you can feel the wind go. And after that, I'm like, whoa, I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to fight. And then my coach says, "Hey, go, go, go." I said, "Mm-mm." So I hesitated. And then I went home and said, never again I'm going to have that experience. So what did I do? I went home and I trained hard. Because if you're going against another athlete, say, for example, you're playing tennis and you know that this kid is actually good and you know this kid really wants it. The question is, do you really want it more than the other kid? If you don't, then what's the point? Then you go back to the drawing board, go back to the whiteboard, and I want you to see once again, oh yeah, it is also important to video, to record your games, your matches, because that is the only way as well
I
to see
like
on
it.
a third eye view perspective what's missing and what's lacking. As well, when I'm working with your athletes, coach, I want to see the way they play. So that's why sometimes I will actually go to the matches to see the way how they play, and then I will look in terms of their biomechanics. Why are they so slow?
Let me interrupt you a little bit. Right now that you
Yes.
say that, I do ask my parents to video the players to make sure the players get a little bit more of me, and they send me the videos. And it's crazy to see how in the videos it's a little bit different now.
Yes.
They train in one way, but they play a different way in the match. And many of these players, I don't understand. You say something, I was afraid to jump in. I think we all afraid to compete.
Yes.
Even in my old age, when I have to compete, regardless I have experience, I have a little adrenaline to make sure I perform the right way. And this is something I want to make sure the players get it. We see the video, we talk about the video, and we need to make sure they understand how they're performing in the match.
Exactly.
And you have a very good player from Mexico that you work with him, international mental toughness you do, his conditioning training, his flexibility. I understand that kid was a little bit overweight, and then you help him to release his intensity, the body wise. Now he's a very good build. I hope so he can come to the United States to play college tennis.
Yes.
Tell me more. How do you help these kind of players? Because you are far away,
Yeah.
and you performing in the sport, but you helping in the tennis skills. Help me
Correct.
more in this, please.
So at one point in time, they actually invited me to Mexico because I said I wanted to see the way how he plays. I wanted to see the way how we do things. I want to know what he eats. So because of just such a big change of certain things, and of course, like if you want to eat a certain type of food, but you're gonna tell him, said, hey, it's too much fat or too much carbohydrate in there, it won't be able to help you in terms of your performance. You need to change. So there's a big change with that. And then from there is via Zoom. We will meet basically once a week, and then he will report to me in terms of what he was doing. And then basically he will find, or basically what he did as well, he found a different personal trainer, but I talk as well with his personal trainer in terms of what he really needs. But other than that, it's also the risk of injury. There were a couple of things I was telling him basically to do. However, sometimes, athletes won't really do what we're supposed to be doing. And then what happened? He had an injury. And then it takes time once again in order for that injury to heal, especially like what you call, I think, tennis elbow. And you're gripping, and depending on the way how you play, your technique, there goes, and next thing you know, you're having an injury. And then now he had a surgery based on that. So that's why from a, how do I say it? You really need to really have the discipline to do it. Like, to avoid injuries, there's no other easy way out but to increase your mobility. Mobility is very important. Flexibility is very important. But a lot of athletes, when you're younger, I mean, we've been there, done that, right, coach? Like sometimes, like, you're young, I don't need to stretch. But when you get older, I'm like, dang, I do have to stretch. That's why when you ask me, it's like, even up to now, I compete. Yes, I do compete because I want to still to test my skills. My philosophy is this, regardless of whatever sport. Mastery only happens, and my philosophy is that I'm just a white belt that never quit. That's it. And of course,
What do you mean, white belt?
that never quit. So
Wow.
if you have a white belt mentality, meaning that you're there day in, day out, and you're working on what needs to be worked. For example, forehand. Great. I want to be a masterful with forehand. And then how did Like, the top players all of a sudden have this good form. It's not just happens one day. They kept doing it over and over again, maybe 1,000 times, but with the proper correct technique. But what do they? If you look at top athletes, they're being recorded, and then the coach will say, "Hey, look, you see your elbow or you see your wrist." That's where the coaching happens. But the player wouldn't know because we only see 180 degrees that's in front. We don't see the 180 degrees that's behind. That's why if an athlete has what we call a limiting or what we call a fixed mindset, if you believe that you're already good luck to you. You will never gonna be good because you're already limited yourself that you're thinking that you're good. But if you listen to your coaches, and that's the whole point of having a coach. If you look at top athletes, how many coaches would they have, coach? 2, 3, maybe?
2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They will have multiple coaches because the more eyes, the better for the athlete. But if you already have a fixed mindset and say, no, I'm already good. No, you're not good. Maybe you're good now. Maybe you're good within your area, but there's always another athlete out there who is going to be better than you. And that is where that progression in terms of progressing to be where you're at, what's the next progression? Great, I want to work on my forehand. Keep working your forehand. Great, now I work on my backhand. I work on my backhand. Now, great, I want to work on my reaction time. Then, work reaction time. So if you're not doing extra training outside of the way how you're training, then you're going to be fall behind against someone who really wants it. And it's just proven fact.
Let me. You've been into the academy.
Yes, coach. Yes.
You sometimes maybe a little bit too tough with the kids. I push the kids, but I think I do it in the right way. I try to make them smile. I try to make them feel like what it could be in a tournament situation, uncomfortable. But today's day, I think we need to even push the kids even harder with the computer games, with electronics. Their attention is so limited sometimes.
Correct.
You're very good in this direction, giving them tools. You have this player, I think, played volleyball, and he got a scholarship to one of the good schools.
Yes.
How tall was that kid? How did you perform with that kid? Tell me. I do. People wanted to know. He was a great athlete already in the age of 13, but he continued working for 6 years, and he went to very good school. How do you develop that beautiful athlete?
Very nice. Number one, I will talk to the parents. Number two, I also talk to the athlete, and I want to know what their goals are. And not being arrogant, but all the athletes that I trained went all D1. So I have another athlete who committed to UC Irvine. And it's a very good school. He got into the program. He committed to it. But for some reason, these athletes, their mindset is so different. They really want it that bad. And then they're the ones who will text me and say, hey, coach, can we train tomorrow? I want extra training. Or they will tell their parents and basically said, Mom and Dad, I want 2 more extra training, because they really want it that bad. And then these kids, I started training them, and there's either 7th grade or 8th grade. Their body is not strong as yet. One of them actually, when I started, he couldn't even do one single push-up. And that's where I love what I do, is because I create a program on how we can develop the body bit by bit. And then from then, now he's just like, man, he's just like jacked up, like a full athlete. And so that progression will lead to one after the other. But of course, flexibility, mobility, changing eating habits, hydration. And if you're not hydrated, it won't work. Visualization, meditation, telling them, like in terms of that affirmation, I am the best. I am the best. I'm number one. I'm number one. And then they have this mindset that they always are better than the other athletes. Like this athlete right now who committed to UCI, he's only 6'4", 6'5", compared to counterparts who plays at UCI where they're like 6'9", 6'8", 7 feet. But his goal is he needs to jump at least a minimum of 11.2. That was his goal. At the very beginning, he couldn't even touch the ring. He can only jump 9.8. And then eventually we said, okay, we'll create a goal. In 3 months' time, you're going to jump 10. In 6 months' time, you're going to jump 10 and a half. And then so his goal is basically to jump 11.5. Now he's jumping 11.5 after 3 months. But there are things that we develop is basically there's also a science behind certain things like speed, for example. How can you be more faster? How can you jump higher? Like in the sport of tennis, to do explosiveness, it is imperative to do a lot of mini, short, plyometric, explosive exercises, a lot of mini sprints, because how long is the court, coach? The distance? It's not that far, right? But you need to be quick from one point. Yeah, but you have to be quick from point A to point B, sometimes to point C. So if you're watching top players, tennis players, they're just like they're little rabbits, goes in and out very, very quickly in terms of a reaction component. But that also takes a lot of conditioning from your cardio. If you don't have that cardio, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, like for example, you're eating a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers, would you be able to run, do you think? Will you be able to have that ability to really to have that cardio? Absolutely not. Compared to, say, eating fruit, compared to eating more salads, lean meat, to have a balanced diet, to have a lot of water in your system. And someone told me that tennis probably is one of the most challenging sport ever, because you're not playing, like say Taekwondo is only like what, 5 minutes. MMA is only like 5 minutes. Jiu-jitsu is 10 minutes. It's more longer, but for tennis, the average is what, 1.5 to 2 hours. You need to be consistent in terms of your energy level. I've seen where some athletes, their blood sugar basically drops, and then they don't have the energy anymore, and then they're cramping. The question is why? Why are you cramping? Because you probably didn't drink enough. Maybe you didn't eat. Mm-hmm. That's why I always tell athletes, have a piece of fruit like a banana or something before you play, or you need to have a good meal at least an hour or 2 hours prior to the competition. So the question is, what are you doing in terms of your daily habits every day, that when you are about to compete, the daily habit is already there? Like you're waking up, okay, you're stretching, you're doing your mobility, and then your mindset is already there. Then when you get to the court, you're ready to play. That's basically the process, coach.
You visualize a lot.
Yes.
And I know you're doing a lot of mental things to the players. And you mentioned a couple of things. You just train players that want to play D1 college, which is unbelievable sometimes. When you visualize, how can we help? I understand visualization. Why? When you compete, when nothing bothers you and you can hit and play in your sport, how can you teach visualization to? And that will be a very good thing to do with people. They don't understand visualization. For example, you can show them a punch. Mm-hmm. I can show them a grand stroke, a forehand, a backhand. An example, yesterday, I had one of the players that come to Silicon Valley Tennis to work in the backhand. The girl is 9 years old. A wonderful player. She will be so good. I think she will be pro level. And I was showing the coaches, how can we improve the backhand? And just open the racket a little bit more, making sure the hands went to the outside and hit it through. The girl came, I called the mom, and I said, can you bring me your daughter? I want to train extra with your daughter. And the mom said, but we didn't sign in for the class. Don't worry, just come over. I want to try something different. I want to see how can we do it, So her name of the girl is Alexi. She come, and I teach her the backhand. I could see her smile, and I say, visualize, how can you hit with your hands outside of your body. And the girl said, visualize how? I said, close your eyes, picture yourself hitting the backhand in that direction, and think about you are in the US Open. That's what I say to the girl. Yes, coach. And after she hit three balls without not really forcing it, I could see the smile, and she said, I get it. I get it. And I said, what do you get? My ball's going faster. But this young kid visualized very well.
Mm.
And you expertise. How can we teach people to visualize? Give me a tool.
Yeah. So one advantage about younger kids is that they really have a good sense of imagination, because filtration, there's the part of the brain that you have the subconscious and you have the conscious mind, and in between is what we call the filtering system. Kids will only have that filter when they at the age around 12 or 13, and that's why they have this sense of logic, but at the very beginning they don't. And the reason why they don't have form of logic as yet, and they will just believe whatever a person will say, they will believe it because they don't have that filter, and they already have that ability to create that imagination. So if you look at younger kids, especially boys or girls, they're like, they're daydreaming, and then they're like, next thing you know, that's part of their imagination. When you get to an adult, or from a teenager or 15 or 16 all the way to adulthood, once certain stories have been set into stone and a belief system will be created, that's how it creates our own persona, our personality. So how do you create or practice visualization? It's actually a very simple process. When I was younger, one of my coaches actually helped me on how to do it. So prior to going to bed, I will just lay in my bed, and then I will just close my eyes and I will start to visualize in terms of the moves. So very similar with tennis, like say the backhand, the forehand, the elbow, the arm, the body, the rotation, doing it in slow motion and going over and over and over again. And then at one point, that image will go to the subconscious and it becomes second in nature. And that's how top athletes, well, once they've done that, it's like we call rehearsal. When you go drama, you have to rehearse. It's because it's not acting. It's a rehearsing component. And once you keep on doing that, and then you are now playing, without even you thinking, it just happens. And that's how the process of visualization actually works. And meditation with visualization works because it gives you the ability to focus. When you say like, okay, what if I will lose? Then you're thinking about a future event that hasn't happened yet. So when that thought process is going to the future event, that causes anxiety. And that anxiety creates either impatience, or they create some form of fear, the fear of losing, the fear of being wrong. And so you're now not being present. So meditation helps to be in the present moment. Then when you're visualizing in whatever the technique in the present moment, that focus is only within the now. And if your thought process is also going basically in the past, where you now have a lot of regret, you're no longer being in the present moment. That is the beauty about meditation and visualization. It gives you the ability to focus in the present moment of now. And that when you're about to compete, everything is in the present moment of now. And yes, is it normal to have butterflies? Butterflies is just a common thing because you like that fear component, like, ooh, yeah, I don't feel good. Like it's almost you gotta puke. It's just a normal process. But once you're on the court, on the other hand, and you're very well prepared, all of a sudden, boom, the butterflies disappear. Why? Because you're just trusting your own abilities, you're trusting your own mind, you're being present, and you're ready. Well, once you're ready, no one can stop you.
I like the idea. How can we visualize breathing, meditate in the court, in the tennis courts, what would be a great process?
Oh, very good.
3 minutes, 1 minute. What kind of process?
Yes.
This is good to find out.
Yes. So in any form of sports, let's say you're down, even in team sports, when that momentum is no longer there, you keep losing points over and over again. There is a reason why timeout is being called. There's a reason as well where, if you notice top tennis players, they will create what we call an interrupt. Either they will throw the racket or they will yell like, ah! And then what happens? They're releasing that emotion, that negative emotion. And then what they do, they will close their eyes, and then without even you noticing, they're like, said, okay, I got this. Boom. This is what we call framing. In NLP, or we call neuro-linguistic programming, you're framing yourself to interrupt whatever that negative emotion is going to be. So when you are in a space of, like, say, you're losing 1 point, 2 points, and the next thing you know, like, okay, you're down. You were up, say, 2-1. Now it's 2-all. And what happens when pressure occurs is simply someone's chasing you. It's a normal human behavior that when someone's chasing you, you're almost like you're in a panic mode. So as when you get into a panic mode, you just have to just like breathe. Okay, no problem. I got this. I'm the best. I'm great. I got this. Once you're saying that to yourself, you're framing that, okay, let's go. Boom. The whole dynamics from a negative energy switches now to the positive energy once again. That happens in any form of sports. Say in Taekwondo is the same thing. When you say, if I'm down, what do? You get calm, you get collected, you be patient. Because if you're being impatient, that's also where you're gonna make mistakes. So when you're patient and you're just focused, you're like, okay, let's go, let's get ready. And then every point counts. So if you change that mindset, that every point, every ball, you're gonna chase the ball no matter what, I can almost guarantee you're gonna keep winning. The only time that I'm sorry, go ahead, coach.
No, keep going, because I was going to ask you a question.
Yes.
In Taekwondo, in Jiu-jitsu, that's happening in tennis, in swimming, in basketball, in soccer, people think getting tight will be good. When I'm talking tight, I'm going to punch the guy so hard. Tennis is the same. They think, if I get tighter, I'm going to hit harder. It's the opposite.
Correct.
And the more you lose, more powerful punch you will make in swimming. And the more you lose in swimming, faster you will move. And it could be in that process of competing, your mind don't have to think about that much of the winning, correct me?
Correct.
Or you think you have to just go with the momentum to try to challenge yourself to compete and win, of course.
Yes.
I'm a winner. I like to win.
Yes.
What is in your sport? Continue a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so that would be good for Silicon Valley players to understand this,
Yeah.
All right, tell me.
So here's actually a problem of a lot of players. Their main focus is about winning, but they're not focusing on the process of winning. So how can you win if you're not focused on the process of winning? You can't. That's why if you're in a space of anger because you want a revenge, and now, okay, you're down, fine, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna revenge. You're no longer in the space of calmness, you're now in the space of anger. You won't be able to perform if you're in a state of anger. If you're in a space of revenge, you're not gonna win, because the other person is calm and collected. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes because the focus now is being angry. You're now in a negative state. You're no longer in a positive state of being calm. When you're calm, you will react. When you're not calm, you won't be able to react, because there's a conflict between your state of calmness versus the state of anger. It's almost impossible that you're gonna win, guaranteed. So how can you win if you are not in the process of winning. So the process of winning is what I call it the be, do, have principle. Having, winning, doing is the act of reacting. You need to be in a state of being focused, being committed, being fast, being energetic. You do the act, then you will win, guaranteed. I hope that makes sense there, Coach.
Yeah. No, it does. It makes sense. It makes sense. We don't have too much time. We have 8 more minutes.
Yes.
Parents, one of the biggest topics always. When the parents, they are so straightforward to their children, do you think is good or is bad?
I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be blunt. No, it is not good. And I've seen it over and over again. I'll give you one scenario. I was coaching this athlete at Stanford University, really good athlete. And then all of a sudden, like, she was winning. Then next thing you know, she started losing. And I keep looking, like, she kept looking at the parents. She kept looking at the mom. She kept looking at the dad. And then all of a sudden, she lost focus. And then after the second round, I basically come here and said, hey, look at me. Look at me. Don't look at your parents. Just look at me. And then she won that match. But in the second match, I went up to the parents. I said, excuse me. I said, who's the coach? Are you the coach or I am the coach? I said, you're the coach. They told me I am the coach. I said, exactly. So would you mind not to yell, not to say anything to your child? Because she can't focus. Because now her process is that if she makes a mistake, she's no longer good. So that's one example, which I would recommend. Actually, that's why if I take athletes that I want to train, I interview both parents and the athlete. Number one, I want to know whether the athlete really wants it. If the athlete wants it, great. But if the parents wants it, but the athlete doesn't want it, I won't accept them. Then I will be straight up to the parents, and I'm going to tell to the parents, it's no longer your child who really wants to play. It is you, because whatever happened to you in the past is you're now putting it to your child. And that child is not only going to have a lot of fun. And that the child should have a lot of fun because they want, and that's their sport. It's not the parent's sport. As a parent, I believe, as a parent, my job to my kids is just to support my kids. That's why I will tell my kids and said, listen, do you want to be good? Do you want to be the best in terms of your sport? If they say yes, great. If they say no and you want to just play like, recreationally, that's fine as well. But if my kid basically says, Dad, I want you to train me, then I tell my kids, I am no longer your dad when I start training you. I am now your coach. That if I tell you to run 100 miles an hour, you're going to run 100 miles an hour with no complaints. And once they create an agreement with that, no problem. And I believe parents should also have the ability to talk with their kids from an honest level and basically say, hey, is this really what you want? If this is what you want, then we will support you. If this is only recreationally, then that's fine as well without pushing them, because if they keep pushing them, they're just going to rebel. They won't do it.
Yesterday I had one of the players play a tournament over the weekend. And I said, how do you play? I said, coach, the first 2 matches was very good. Of course, the kid won the first 2 matches. And I said, how was the third match? And the third match said, I don't know why I felt that my dad was getting angry with me. I said, well, what are you talking about? I was winning and I started losing. And I said, why did you concentrate on your dad? Because my dad brought me over to the tennis court. And I say, that was the mistake. And I said, how happened in the second set? Oh, the second set, it was worse. Yeah, because you were thinking, I'm going to go with my dad in the car to their home and something is going to happen. And the kids say, how do you know, coach? How do you know I was worried more about my dad, about hitting the ball to the other side? And I went back again and I say, what have you been training? You've been training hitting crash core. You've been training lifting the ball more, making the player move better, that you concentrate on that piece, that you focus on that. And then say, no, I was just thinking about my parents. And
Yeah.
it's like, wow. And there's so many times, I think, one of the situations that we had, but uh, in my place, I work with everybody. We work with
Mm.
beginners, intermediate, we do have very top national ranking kids where they came when they were 6, 7. Now they are 13, 14, which is amazing to see that. You have one of our top players doing conditioning. My God, that kid is like a rabbit. That kid, that kid, I just waiting for that kid to turn 14. He
Yeah.
passed every single ball, and this is an example. He is able to recognize when the player is hitting heavier. He recognizes it, and I don't know if the parents talk to him or the parents making him overdo things, but the kid loved tennis and the
Yes.
kid enjoyed when he goes train. I understand he trains on the track. I don't know how long he's
Yeah.
doing with you. I don't know. You see him once a week, twice a week. That kid is amazing.
Yes.
Is one of the most amazing kids, and this is unbelievable to see these players. I have something to share with you about what we'll have the conversation. And correct me if I'm wrong. Nothing comes easy. To be a good, and I put it, to be a good tennis player. Be on time for your lesson. Be resilient. Give you maximum effort. Stay longer. Do extra work. Take time of working out in the court and outside the court, be serious, and in the court work with a lots of respect to you and to your opponent. Don't be afraid to the consistency. I think that's what you say. And let's make sure you business, Silicon Valley tennis, work harder with the kids. You know, I think this is something I put together in a conversation
Oh,
right
it's
now,
beautiful, coach.
talking to you, trying to make sure these players really feel something. And you say something else when you lost. Every loss teach something. Quickly you learn from the losses, and then don't forget when you lose, you will be better working harder and you will be faster in your goals. Which
Absolutely.
goals? And I like to see what you say, thinking like a champion. I don't know in the end how many times people thinking like a champion, or maybe they're pressured too much to be a
Mm.
champion. In the end of almost our conversation, give me a couple of your thoughts. We can help the kid thinking like a champion without pressuring themselves. What do you think?
I personally believe that a champion simply means that the way how you put yourself out there, your attitude, your character, attitude towards your training, attitude towards your coaches, your attitude towards your parents, attitude towards your school, your attitude towards in your day-to-day environment, attitude towards your friends, the level of respect, the level of discipline, the level of confidence. For me, that is a champion. That is a leader. A follower is no longer a follower where a follower simply is following everything, thinking of what other people or believing, like not no longer having that self-confidence, thinking of what other people think of them. When you're confident, you're just purely confident. So when you're in that space, in my opinion, you already are a winner. You already are a champion. When you get up early in the morning and you fix your bed, that's a level of discipline. You're already a champion. You're already a winner. And the reason being is because you have the level of discipline. You're waking up, you're fixing your bed, you're going for a walk, you're going for a run. When you are at your training and you are 1 minute early, you're already a champion. When you're at the court, you're already a champion. You see, people will measure their sense of them saying that they're only going to be a champion if they've won. No, you cannot be a champion without the losses as well, because without those learnings, then how can you be a champion? Being a champion is the way how you deal yourself on the court. And you just said it over there, like Coach, when you said having respect with other players. Don't be a sore loser. When you lose, accept it, and then learn from those mistakes. Look at the video, listen to your coaches, and then just say, okay, how can I be a better player? Great, I made a mistake. Maybe I need to be more faster. I need to be quicker. I need to correct my techniques. Then that is the process of a champion over and over again. And when you have that mental state, regardless of whoever you're going to play, you're a champion, you're a winner. Just because you came second doesn't necessarily mean you're not a winner, you're not a champion. If you did everything you could and you performed in your own best ability, now that is a champion.
Good. I like that philosophy, Reynaldo. Reynaldo, the time is over.
Oh,
I know we can talk about these things a lot. You one of these coaches, they always talk about what we're talking right now with the player, with the mental things. And it's always great to hear it from you again. I think you are a champion. You teach me many things. And the moment you say, I'm going to go compete, and it's like, wow, I love that. I love that attitude. Wake up, Yes. That is very good. Reynaldo, this show is getting over. And it'd be wonderful to have you here. Anytime that you want to stop by in Silicon Valley, when you stop by sometimes, I know I put you to work and I want to say, do this to this kid. Or talk to this parent. I know I do it. But, you're welcome to stop by in Silicon Valley anytime. And I hope so we can see each other again. And thank you for joining us to Silicon Valley broadcast today. And I'm looking forward to see you again.
Thank you, Coach. It was an honor. And as always, Coach Francisco Ruiz, one of the best coaches, basically intense that I've ever met. And make sure to train with Coach. See you, Coach. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you again. Thank you.
Bye.
Do you dream of hitting aces and dominating the court? Silicon Valley Tennis Academy is your one-stop shop for becoming a tennis champion. We offer expert coaching, world-class facilities, and a supportive community to help you reach your full potential. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned player, we have programs designed to fit your skill level and goals. Learn from experienced coaches who are passionate about the game and dedicated to your success. Join our growing team of talented players and see how Silicon Valley Tennis Academy can take your game to the next level. Visit our website at www.siliconvalleytennis.com to learn more and enroll today. Don't miss your chance to be a part of something special.
Sure. One, two, three.